My budget might not be the most cute, aesthetically pleasing printout, but it is good. Hi, welcome to Home Economics class. I'm your teacher, Luna. Whatever gender you are, aren't, or for any age under the sun, it's important to be able to manage your own budget. This is part 2 of my one-page budget lesson. So if this is your first time making your own budget or you haven't seen it yet, go and watch that first. At the end of that video, I said that a budget is essentially two things, planning and math. So while in the previous video, we went over the initial layout and creation of a budget sheet, today we're going to go over what you'll need to do from month to month to maintain your budget, come what may. First, let's start with number crunching. In part 1, I used a sample budget that featured a dual income household. Now I'm going to take that same monthly expense chart, but we are going to plan it for a single income household. This is useful in many ways. For one, it would be most useful for individuals to show a budget this way, as this can be a valuable educational resource for young adults who did not have access to home economics in their school system. But secondly, it allows us to take a base we've already established and show how to play around with the allocated funds, planning, and math. And this is something that can be incredibly useful as dual income households can suddenly find themselves into a single income household in a moment's notice. There are many households during the height of the pandemic, including my own, who suddenly found one partner out of work. Thus, for this portion, I'm going to be incredibly authentic so that this video can be as real-life educational as possible. So I am including for the amounts very close to my actual paycheck during 2020 when I worked as an educator. And I'm including a sampling of some real-life expenses from throughout the last 4 years. So while this is not an actual page ripped straight from my budget history, all of these were real at one point, which will serve us well for this lesson. So rather than diving too deeply into this one exercise, I want to give general tips that will be applicable to however you try to reduce your costs. Obviously, the goal is to get total expenses less than your income. So the first thing is to eliminate anything expendable. For me, right away, I would eliminate these 2 streaming services. I'll write down a list of anything still on my watch list from Netflix and see if I can borrow it from my local library or by any other means available to me. For music, I can go a little vintage with an iPod I still have or the radio. Or I can listen to my playlists that I already have and just deal with the ads like I would on the radio. And this is a great sample of the way to approach budget crunching. I'm going to eliminate what I can do without or find alternatives for and decrease what else I can. For decreasing, I can eat more frugally and bring my household expenses down. Now for takeaway or takeout, however you would term this, I am not going to eliminate it completely, because I found it smarter to budget for, as there are most months some days where I literally do not have the time or capacity to cook. The months where I have not included this as a sparing necessity typically ends with me exceeding my household budget. And this is where budget crunching shows to be a very personal task. I plan out my meals and buy for the week, sometimes up to 2 weeks at most. To save the most money, I visit 3 to 4 shops, all within the same 2 large shopping centers across the street from each other. So I'm not losing on fuel by traveling a lot, but shopping for that much at once in packed stores takes time. And its toll. Even if I go out for these errands immediately after lunch, there are going to be times where it can take a lot more time and effort, and coming home and expecting to cook dinner is just going to be unrealistic. There are times where to save money, I have pushed myself to cook when I get home. However, once I arrive, I physically cannot, and if the house is empty, meaning my husband is at work during this time, I end up having to get food delivered. This always costs more than allocating money for this, due to my own disability, and when I recognize that my errands are going to be exhaustive that day, stopping by and getting cheap fast food on the way home or sometime during the errands, or even buying something frozen to pop in the oven if I know I can wait till then. So that explanation for why I reduced rather than eliminated my takeaway budget was a bit long, but that is the process for every step of budget crunching, which is why I opted to give general tips for this so we didn't spend too long in this one area. So let's move on. The next portion of our lesson is cash wallet systems. Originally, a cash wallet was a system where each expense in your budget would be taken out in cash and placed in its own envelope inside a larger wallet or purse system. If this sounds intense, overwhelming, and even fills you with trepidation, I agree. However, this isn't how I do it. And if the aforementioned system doesn't appeal to you, I'm here to say that there's lovely alternatives that take all the better aspects while leaving behind whatever doesn't suit you. So my issue with the original system is, first, there's a good amount of expenses that are paid online directly from my bank account, and secondly, it makes me feel uneasy to have that much cash out in one place. However, using cash is a great way to be accountable to your budget. So I say, use where you need. For example, the takeaway budget I mentioned earlier is rather small and is only to be used when absolutely necessary. So to ensure I keep that budget, I can grab any small wallet or pouch I have, put $20 in it, and put that in my bag when I go out. Doing this ensures I see exactly how much I have left in my budget for that month, and it makes it so that I cannot exceed the amount set. When the money is out, it's out. You also don't even have to get a new wallet. For my household budget, I put the money in my actual wallet at the start of each week because I divide it weekly. So if my budget is $300 for the month and I go shopping for the week on Friday, I take $75 and put it in my wallet before I go out. Whenever any household expense arises throughout the week, I use what I still have. Or, on rare occasions, I take it in advance of the next week. I do this by paying what I can with my weekly cash and then paying the rest on card. I keep the receipt and store it in a wallet where the cash goes. When I get home, or when it comes to the next payout cycle, I deduct the amount I spent on the card from the $75 for that week. So, for example, if on Wednesday I buy a pair of salad kits that are on sale for $6, and I only have $3 cash at the checkout, that means I pay the $3 and put the last $3 on my debit card. Okay, so now, 2 days later on Friday, I see from the receipt I kept that I owe $3 from last week. When I go to fill my wallet, this time I will only put $72 for this week. Like this, I've created a cash system that works for me, and I encourage you to do the same. And for our final part in the lesson, we'll go over net income mapping. As I mentioned in part 1, in your monthly total summary at the top of the page, there should be a line that shows whether you're at a net negative or positive for that month, which means, did you spend more than you made or did you make more than you spent? Net income mapping is simply doing this, compounding from month to month, and seeing whether you spent more or made more overall that year. Let's go into examples. Say in January, I have spent $475.45 on car repair expenses. Once again, a real life number. For the single income budget we worked on, we saw that there was a remainder of $282.16. So, if the rest of our budget goes perfectly to the penny, we can expect to have a net negative of $193.29 for this month. Assuming we have even the smallest amount of savings and we didn't overdraft on this, what we'd want to do is make up for this in the next month. So February, let's say that again our budget goes perfectly to the penny. We don't have any emergency expenses and we resolve not to buy anything extra, like say discount Valentine's candy or items. With the same remainder on February, we add to the net negative from January, and now we have a net positive of $88.87 at this point in the year. And I'm going to keep doing this throughout the year because regardless of whether or not you're calculating it, this is what's happening in your bank account. Being aware of this determines your ability to save up for a rainy day and work towards any semblance of financial stability. So let's do one more exercise here and move forward to May. Let's say you're at a net zero at this point in the year, and you have another emergency car expense of $373.71. Again, real number. You don't have anything in savings this month. Again, imagining the rest of our budget goes perfectly to the penny, we need to budget out another $91.55. So we start budget crunching. I'm going to eliminate my takeaway cost and just always keep a reusable snack bag of pretzels with me and maybe a beef jerky pouch. I'm going to decrease my laundry budget a bit and just rewear pants 2 to 3 times, change out my sheets less often, and go for those back of the closet clothes if need be. And for the last $62, rounding up here, I'm going to take from household. This would lessen my weekly budget by $15.50, which I know is doable by taking more time to plan out meals so that we get our nutritional needs met from more frugal sources. And now, if all goes according to plan, at halfway through the year, I am at a net positive of 45 cents. Small wins are still wins. Celebrate when you can. That concludes our lesson for today. Using all these skills in combination will help you utilize your budget to the fullest. And I promise, it gets easier the more you practice it. I hope this video was helpful and informative. If you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments. I try and put out new videos every new and full moon, and I hope you'll be here next time. Bye!